everyone, I'm Ariana J. Lourdes and I'm going to report the brief history of boxing. So boxing is a sport both amateur and professional involving attacks and defense with their fists. Boxers usually wear padded gloves and generally observe the code and fought in the Marquess of Queensberry's rules. Boxing is a sport with an ancient story. It was introduced to the ancient Olympic Games in the 7th century BC. So when soft leather thongs were used to bind the boxer's hand and forearms for protection. So you can see in the picture that their forearms has a protection with thongs. So next slide is Roman developments. The Romans developed a glove called cestus that is seen in Roman mosaics and described in their literature. This glove often had the lumps of metal or spikes sewn into the leather. The cestus is an important feature in boxing match in Virgil's Aeneid, 1st century BCE. And then the next slide is the bare knuckle era, where matches were fought without gloves and, for the most part, without rules. There were no weight divisions, thus there was just one champion, and lighter men were at an obvious disadvantage. Rounds were designated, but a bout was usually fought with one participant could no longer continue. The next slide is the Queensberry's rules. The Marquess of Queensberry rules are known as Queensberry rules, are a code of generally accepted rules in sport of boxing. Like rule number 1, to be fair, stand-up boxing match in a 24-round foot ring or as near the size of practicable. Rule number 2, no wrestling or hugging allowed. Rule number 3, the rounds to be 3 minutes duration and 1 minute's time between the rounds. Those are the example for the Queensberry rules that can be accepted. So for the last slide, the Olympic history. It made its Olympic debut at the 1904 Games in St. Louis. It was in USA, the only country entered which took all the medals. Later, the Americans continued to dominate boxing, winning 109 medals, including 48 gold. Out of the 894 outcrops, closely followed by Cubans and Russians. The rules have evolved since the 1980s. 1984 in the Los Angeles protective helmet obligatory. 1992 in Barcelona set up for the electronic scoring system to strengthen the objectives of refereeing. 2007 standard point scoring. So that's all. Thank you for listening.
Hello guys, my name is Rafael Dana and this is the continuation of brief history of boxing. Let's start with the medieval and early modern London. Record of classic boxing activity disappeared after the fall of Western Roman Empire, when the wearing of weapons became common once again and interest in fighting with the fist waned. However, there are detailed records of various fist-fighting sports that were maintained in different cities and provinces of Italy between the 12th and 17th centuries. There was also a sport in ancient Rus called Kolachny boy or fist fighting. Late 19th and early 20th century. Through the late 19th century, the martial art of boxing or prize fighting was primarily a sport of the supremacy, outlawed in English of much of the United States. Prize fighting were often held at gambling venues and broken up by police. Brawling and wrestling tactics continued, and riots at prize fight were common occurrences. Still, throughout this period, there arose some notable bare-knuckle champions who developed a very sophisticated fighting tactics. The English case of R.B. Coney in 1882 found out that badly harmed despite the consent of the participation. This marked the end of the widespread public bare-knuckle contest in England. The first wood heavyweight champion under the Queensberry rules was Gentleman Jim Corbett, who defeated John L. Sullivan in 1892 at the Pelican Athletic Club in New Orleans. Next, the boxing in the golden age of sport. According to the boxing history timeline, the 1920s is cited as the most sport-crazy decade in the history of America. Jack Dempsey, born in the state Colorado, was a boxer with brutal fighting style. After a hard work of many years and defeating many opponents, he gained the title of heavyweight that was previously taken by the Jess Williard. Modern era in boxing. In the modern era of boxing, most recognizable developments were done in the sport. As by Boxing Mystery Facts, in 1866, the Marquess of Queensberry gave a new set of boxing rules. The rules were given the title after his name. According to the new rules, a limited number of 3-minute rounds were introduced in the sport. Boxing in 20s. Boxing is one of the oldest sports known to us. From very early historical records to its professional development in the last century and modern privates, the sport has become a global phenomenon watched by millions. Although modern boxing has a lot of similarities with its ancient cousin, the mix with television, big money, and big personalities has forever changed the sport. As for the future of boxing, with the rise of the internet, we are now seeing boxers beginning to promote themselves more online. While pay-per-view watching is now going online, commercialization of the sport may continue with the major companies increasingly sponsoring or linking their names to main events. This may also mean more title belts to give companies more revenue streams. However, as we have seen with the boxers like Ali, personalities may yet to change the sport once again.
Hello everyone, I'm Joshelle Ibanan and I will show you the boxing facilities and equipments. First is the boxing ring. It is the space in which a boxing match occurs. A modern ring consists of a square raised platform with a post at each corner. 4 ropes are attached to the post and pulled under tension with turnbuckles to form a boundary of the competition area. Second is the punching bag. It is a sturdy bag designed to be repeatedly punched. A punching bag is cylindrical and filled with various materials of corresponding hardness. Third is the boxing gloves. It is designed to protect both the opponent's head and the fighter's hand during sparring. Sparring and forms of boxing training have their own specialized gloves. Fourth is mouth guard. It is a protective device for the mouth that covers the teeth and gums to prevent reduced injury in the mouth. Fifth is the boxing hand wraps. It is a strip of cloth used by boxers to protect their hand and wrist against injuries induced by punching.
I am Patricia Maisy Lalog, reporting for facilities and equipment. So in our first slide, we have boxing trunks. So why is this needed? When the boxers are training or playing in an official match, they use this. Most boxers choose to wear this types of trunks because they are more flexible and they are more comfortable in wearing this. And it also gives them the access to move more easily when wearing them. Fun fact, it is made of satin and has a cooling polyester foundation. It also gives boxers an edge since it has a Velcro band that allows the boxers to take more leverage during a fight. Moving on, we have boxing shoes. So why is this important in a match? While fighting, a boxer has to be able to move effortlessly from side to side. And in order to do that, the boxer has to have comfortable boxing shoes. The primary use of boxing shoes is that it has a ankle protection and is lightweight, which helps the boxers sit on the ground and grip the floor better, allowing them to make more moves in a battle, which is quite good for a boxer, and it benefits them. Moving on, we have boxing headgear. So, it helps protect the boxer's head in case of emergency, in which it is very effective because it has a padded helmet. It keeps the boxers safe in a match, and it also prevents them from having any injuries such as cuts, scrapes, and swelling. Another information about this, it also helps in lessening the dangerous impact of when the boxer is punched right through the head by his opponent. The concussion, which is quite dangerous because the boxers may face some issues if he gets punched by his opponent. So this is really important for a boxer while in an official match or practice. Next thing is we have boxing ring robe. Boxers tend to wear robe because before matches were held outdoors or somewhere cold. In that sense, robes were made so that before the match, the one who would fight wouldn't feel cold, and it also adds up to the boxer's confidence. Fun fact, some of the boxers really make their robes quite fashionable. Like they would personally style their robe. And one of the boxers who is like that is Wilbert Johnson, who is famous for his vampire look robe because he wore a robe that had a Dracula style, which the people initially loved that time. Yeah. So moving on, last but not the least is that we have punch mitts. This essentially helps the boxer in improving his aim and the way he puts out his fist in the air to knock out his opponent. Fun fact, it was first identified in the 70s. And back then, foot tongs or slippers were used to capture the effects of a boxer's punch. And today, it can be seen anywhere and it is highly regarded by many boxers because it is used to practice a boxer for an official match, and it is widely used to enhance accuracy and train a boxers for a real fight. That's all for today. Thank you for listening.
Technical and tactical skills. In boxing, there are skills a person must enhance before being able to have a fair match with other boxers, which are stance, footwork, and punching. Think of these skills as dribbling, passing, and shooting basketball. A basketball player won't be able to play well without being able to do those three basic skills. The stance determines how a boxer will be able to attack and defend effectively. There are different types of stances, including but not limited to upright, southpaw, crouch, and semi-crouch. The upright stance is good at defending the boxer's face will have the range to jab their opponent. The southpaw is almost just the same with the upright stance, but the boxer is left-handed, so the positioning of this stance is just the opposite of the upright stance. The crouch stance is the best for defending than the upright stance since the boxer is leaned backward, which will make it easier to move backwards to get farther from the reach of your opponent. Semi-crouch is just the same, but the boxer is leaned forward slightly. In footwork, this is how fast the boxer can move. There are golden rules. Keep the weight balanced on both feet. Keep your feet apart as you move to maintain balance. Move around the ring using short sliding steps on the balls of your feet. Never let your feet cross. Always move the foot closest to the direction you want to move first. Punching is just how boxers hit their opponent. There are four main punches: jab, cross, hook, and an uppercut. A jab is a light punch compared to a cross punch. A cross punch is done by exerting more force than a jab, so missing the opponent will give an opening for the opponent to counter. A hook is a punch coming from the side. This is done by moving to the side first, so the opponent won't easily see the hit. An uppercut is the riskiest but rewarding punch as it can deal a huge blow to the opponent, especially if they were unaware of it. It's risky since a boxer has to be very close to do an uppercut, and their opponent must be tired enough to not be able to block or dodge and be aware of the uppercut. Next, tactical skills are the match-deciding skills or qualities as the mastery of these skills differs from every boxer. There are qualities which includes decisiveness, speed, concentration of force, and flexibility. There are also tactics that can change the outcome depending on how well a boxer can execute it. Decisiveness is the capability of the boxer to stick with their game plan throughout the game. Being indecisive will make it easier for the boxer to feel exhausted as they will keep thinking of other methods or question their own game plan, which will make them lose focus on the game. Speed. Since each boxer have different bodies and routines, it is unlikely that the two boxers in a match will have the same speed. So, the faster boxer will be able to move quickly compared to their opponent. Concentration to force. This is important in both cross and uppercut punch, as it is ideal to deal the best blows a boxer can. Flexibility. To relate with decisiveness, a boxer must stick to a game plan they had devised until they notice that it's not effective or their opponent's moves were unexpected. A boxer has to think of a new effective game plan to be at an advantage, or else their opponent will slowly but surely defeat them. Defense tactics are the methods a boxer can do to avoid hits from a certain area or lessen the impact of the opponent's blows. As you can see, there are at least 7 defense tactics a boxer can do, which are sidestep, snap back, sway to one side, block, tuck down, parry, and cover up. And that's all. Here are my references.
Hi everyone, I am Ivana Midre Panto and I'm here to discuss with you the healthy benefits of boxing. So here's the first benefit, cardiovascular health. Something that is very beneficial about the sport of boxing is that it is excellent for your cardiovascular health. One of the things that make boxing so great for your heart is the act of punching. Any punch forces very many of your muscles to contract at once. Due to so many muscles being utilized at once, your heart has to work extra hard to pump blood and oxygen to them, thus giving your heart quite the workout. Next is strong bones and joints. One of the things that we really like about boxing is that it is a bone building exercise per extraordinary. Of course, having stronger and denser bones is fantastic for your overall health, especially as you get older. Bone building exercises are very important because as you age, your bones tend to get weaker. However, a good way to solve this issue is by building your bones through weight-bearing exercises. Number 3. Bigger muscles and more tone. Another big benefit that comes along with engaging in the sport of boxing is that it will definitely tone your body and help your muscles get big and strong. Boxing is about being not only quick but also strong.
at least if you want to stand a chance of defeating your opponent. It is not only just the physical movement, but all of the other aspects that come along with boxing help to build your muscles too. Second to the last, improving your coordination. The next big benefit that you can reap from boxing and training for boxing on a regular basis is that you will develop a better hand-eye coordination. Training your hand-eye coordination works in the same way as training your cardiovascular endurance or your muscle strength. Last, weight control. Another big benefit that comes along with boxing on a regular basis is that it goes a very long way in helping you lose weight. An average training or sparring session in the ring or even just going after a heavyweight bag will allow you to burn anywhere from 400 to 700 calories every hour.
Now, let's tackle about the basic warm-up and exercises that is usually conducted before boxing. First on the list, jumping rope. This is a familiar exercise to most boxers. This exercise will raise your core temperature, elevate your heart and breathing rate. Continue jumping rope for 5 to 10 minutes before moving to the next part of your warm-up. Duck over or step over. It is performed by standing with your feet together and your hands by your side. Imagine that there is a hip-high barrier immediately to your left. Raise your leg and step over in the imaginary barrier, and immediately follow with your right leg. Next, move to your right and duck under the barrier, trying to get as low on the ground as you can and duck your head. Next is burpees. It is pretty much the best exercise ever. It increases your strength and endurance like no other exercise will. Plus the fact that it was getting up and down moves. Sit-ups. Boxers need a strong core to give them the strength to keep throwing punches. This exercise can build up the core strength in the ring. Squats. It is a great exercise to strengthen your legs and glutes so you can bob, weave, and slip all day long. Into hook and jab pads held by your trainer or your sparring partner. Take note that you must only perform enough pad work to finish your warm-up and avoid doing much that you begin to fatigue before the bout begins. Parry return drill. Get in the ring with your partner. Get them to start throwing punches at you half the power they would normally throw. This exercise helps you to get ready, moving around the ring, and will encourage good blocking and parrying technique. The next exercise is walking lunges. Not only walking lunges builds strength in your legs, glutes, and in your core, but this also helps with your balance and flexibility. Shoulder press. Fighter needs strong shoulders. If they want to be able to keep punching around, this helps build shoulder strength and endurance. And lastly, shadow boxing. This provides an opportunity to practice your boxing skills. Before throwing any punches to your opponent, it also increases the speed of your punches.